Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is a particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation. First of all, to new Patreon Sarah Griffiths, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, Austin Whitsit, John Kays, Tommy Swagnut, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, theflatearthchannel.com, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Thoughts of us, not bad thoughts of us. Oh yeah. But yeah, he's gonna preach things like give people hope and faith, right? Because without faith, it's impossible to please God, right? And not a lot of people are preaching faith out there. Seems to be few, far in between. Remember, Jesus came to what? To set the captives free, right? Well, how are you setting people free when you're telling them they're doomed because they took the vaccine? It's not
Hello.
setting people free. Hey, Nathan.
Hello. Can't talk about this, I'm sorry. I am recording as
Yeah,
always.
right. I didn't know you were coming in.
Yeah, I only just got here. Sorry to interrupt your conversation.
Right. Anyways, I'm about to start some breakfast. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff floating out there. Like, I'm just telling people, you got to be careful what you guys hear. A lot of people say a lot of things, unfortunately, not all of it right. As I'm sure you guys are all aware.
No. Everything you read or see on the internet is all correct and verified, I'm pretty sure you'll find.
It's been fact-checked by Facebook?
And Google, yes. Absolutely.
Really? Might as well just change the name to Fact Book, no? Since they got all the facts. They know all the misinformation.
That's correct.
If I have to hear one more time about people going up high and looking at the horizon for Earth curve, I'm going to lose my mind.
Horizon's not Earth curve. That's all you got to say.
How many times do we have to say it? They're just not getting it. I think when QE's done with the scientific method, he has to backtrack and go over the black swan again.
I heard somebody say, look at the grass to see Earth curve. That was fun.
The black swan has nothing to do with the scientific method.
No, I think you misheard them. I
Never
think they
said
said
it
you need
did.
to smoke the grass to see the curve.
Meanwhile, the horizon isn't Earth curve.
Correct. Look, it was on the other day. I listened to the show from the other day. and the guy came on talking about it, and you explained it to him. And he went into saying even in their model, it wouldn't be at the right height for Earth curve. I'm like, what the heck? Did you just not hear? The horizon is not Earth curve.
Hey, 10th.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Okay. Yeah, I'm stuffed up, man. One of those.
Me too. I had flowers and balloons sent to my house yesterday for our 21st anniversary. And when I get home, the balloons say congratulations instead of happy anniversary. Who the heck says congratulations to their wife on their anniversary?
Congratulations, you made another year with me.
I just try to get a mental image of who would say that.
So my wife called me up. She's like, oh, the flowers are beautiful. And first of all, nothing like they looked in the picture. I mean, from the table in the vase to the top of the flowers, maybe was 6 inches. Cost me $140. Not even a dozen. I was furious. I said, what about the balloons? She goes, oh, the balloons are nice. I didn't realize till I got home. They said, congratulations. May have well just said, get well soon.
At least the balloons have gas pressure.
I'm laughing so hard right now, Neil. Please, I'm sick.
Yeah, they're floating nice.
The florist's going to say, well, at least it didn't go down, go boom, boom. What are you complaining about?
So when I called the place up, they gave me some deal where they're going to send new flowers today, the right arrangement, the right balloons. I said, okay, thank you. And they gave me like a $20 voucher for another order down the road. And then I'm eating dinner and I get a phone call and they tell me I don't even know where the guy was from. I know he wasn't from America because I couldn't understand the word he said. And he's telling me we don't have the flowers, but we can send you a dozen roses. I said, what about the balloons? We don't have any that say happy anniversary. I was like, you know what? Just forget about the whole thing.
Well, I was going to ask you if anything stemmed out of that, but I guess not.
It stemmed. I steamed. How about that?
Oh, I wish I was with you one day just watching the sporting event. We would have such a laugh.
Oh, yeah, I talk to the TV a lot.
No.
That's the point. I'd be watching you instead of the game. I'd be having a blast.
They never listen to me, though. My kids look at me and say, Dad, why weren't you never a coach or anything? I say, what? Because they tell you exactly what's going to happen, right? Yes.
I thought you meant the TV doesn't listen to you.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't listen to me. Break the handoff, throw deep. No, they don't listen to me.
Oh, that's good. Thanks for the laugh.
So anyway, I'm thinking it's been a while, so I'm pretty sure we're going to hear from some people soon, like Samurai.
Wait a minute. You were wrong about the TV and they never listened to you. Now you're good.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking it's about due for Samurai to pop in here. And a couple of other usual suspects. They're about due.
You know, the thing about samurais is that when they want to die an honorable death, you don't hear from them again.
The only thing is he never died from an honorable death here.
No, a coward dies 1,000 deaths.
The last time he was on, didn't he say, "I'm not going to tell you," or something like that? He wouldn't answer the question.
I know Nathan's probably getting coffee or something.
No, I'm just sat listening.
Oh,
No, if Nathan was getting coffee, it would sound like the whole house is getting pounded on.
So what's happened is this show has had a subtle, very, very subtle renaming without us realising. So previously, it was Flat Earth Debate. Now it's Flat Earth Debate. In other words, the upward inflection comes after debate now rather than after Flat Earth. So the question of whether or not we're on a flat Earth has been done. And in terms of the people who formerly came, admittedly for the most part, to assert that they're on a sphere, as opposed to the obvious and observable flat Earth that we're on, have now all but disappeared. And what we're left with is, this is as an off the back of Steve yesterday, bit of an inspiration you were, Steve. What we've now got left with, and I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear this, Neil, is a requirement to sort of bat off, if you will, various different assertions from people who appreciate the Earth's flat, but they've also got other ideas about what the Earth might or might not be. And we're having to defend those. Now, I've never said that I wouldn't, but obviously your attitude, Neil, was to proactively chase down these people with what we would perceive to be crazy notions without much evidence to back them. But, you know, I think those ideas, if you've been paying attention the last week or so, they're sneaking in from our own side, right? A few people just putting it out there. So while I haven't necessarily promoted that in the past, I might embrace that fully. Flat Earth, yeah, Flat Earth, yeah. We all know that here, right? So we're in the majority suddenly. What's going on? Well, okay. Doesn't mean that there's not a lot of crazy notions within the people who understand the Earth's flat about what the world is, and we can debate them too. Now, go on.
Some guy's gonna. Some guy who's, for whatever reason, missed the show but is a baller, comes back after a few months, has no idea what's happened to the little summary you just gave. And then he comes on the show and you say, wait a minute now. We're on the subject of bumblebees and aerodynamics. We don't want any questions on flat Earth. Where you been?
I don't think Nathan was finished.
No, I was just pointing out that there's been a subtle change, and by that I mean the title hasn't changed at all. Flat Earth Debate with an upward inflection after Flat Earth, because it's the question being asked, and then the statement.
Correct.
Well, it's not a question anymore. So there's an exclamation mark, if you will, after Flat Earth, and now a question mark after debate, because has somebody got something that they want to put forward about the nature of Earth? And people are still doing that. Now, from the globe side, they're saying, oh, this isn't a debate. It's like, well, no, because you're not here debating your faith in the globe anymore. But we are absolutely debating various different aspects, including incoherent dielectric acceleration and the nature of the history of our realm, if you will. No forests on a flat Earth being an aspect of that. Those things are still getting brought up in discussion, discussed, pulled apart, or the claims are being substantiated. But ultimately, the process continues, regardless of our appreciation of the world being flat, and the majority being here to agree about that. Yeah, it just means that there's no longer any decent arguments coming our way from the globe side of the argument. That's all that means.
I have one correction. I don't want to hunt them down, but when they cross our paths, we need to deal with it, and we do, like I said the other day. No hunting down. Just when it comes our way, we smash it like a worm.
Check.
Hello.
Hey guys, you had a Glober trying to get in, get unmuted and talk to you, but unfortunately now he has to leave.
So
Well, real quick, just to highlight what. Oh, sorry, Nathan.
I just missed that distraction. My kid burst in. I'll just before you do make that point, whoever it was that I'm cutting off, and I'm really sorry that I am. All I was going to say was I want to positively encourage that, as opposed to say, well, if it comes our way, and Neil's obviously well conditioned to say it, just so I won't get his head bitten off for. But you know, if by chance you feel the need to encourage people who may or may not appreciate that we're on a flat plane to put forth their speculations in regards to various aspects of the nature of the world we live in, so the subject matter stays the same, then, you know, it doesn't matter that they're not globers. You know, they've been dealt with. So what? Doesn't mean there aren't people with notions that could be positively encouraged here to postulate their ideas and substantiate them with evidence, or indeed find themselves in the position that Steve found himself in yesterday, where we're saying, well, actually, we have had to look at this, and no, it is still bollocks, and here's how. Anyway, whoever it was that I was interrupting, feel free.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to highlight, I think what you're talking about in a way is progress in this sort of area, because like you pointed out, dealing with people that don't want to concede points and just continually waste time, we're not getting anywhere with that. You know what I mean? So like you're saying, why not not attack, but scrutinize the people who do want to better understand what it is that's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the people who've moved past that and are embracing the joyous bit that I talk about so often, like not knowing, and the investigation to potentially finding out something that we previously thought we had a handle on because we were on a sphere. Well, that's still very, very exciting, and there's lots of people who've got notions about it. Now, I know Neil feels very threatened by that, but that doesn't mean to say that they're not going to have juicy information along the path of potentially information that can be pulled apart based on its lack of evidence. And now, some people who are speculating will be humble in that speculation and declare it as what it is. And, you know, no one's ever going to have an issue with that, right? As long as they don't work outside of the conventions they've developed. But if I think back over the last couple of weeks, what have I actually chased? Well, I've chased the Morgile. You know, don't get me wrong, I know I'm flaky, the Morgile is, so I know it's going to take a little bit of chasing, and he's, you know, replied with... he sent me a reply to one of the emails with a link with bump. That was in the title. I don't know what that jargon means. I just assume it means he's bumping it up my million emails that I get a day, so that I don't lose track of where he is. But I kept on sending him the link, and he may eventually join. But I'd be more excited to have that conversation, and I was more excited to have the conversation with Steve yesterday than I am ripping apart the same old fundamental premises that they rely on to claim that they're on a sphere. Now, that might be intriguing to somebody who comes here as a newbie, but as I'm saying those disclaimers, you know, if you're a newbie here and you're hearing this, etc., etc., well, those disclaimers are like, well, who am I appealing to? They're like 1% of the 1% that might find their way here if I'm lucky enough to have my audience share the show with one of their friends on Facebook. But other than that, we're preaching to the converted, and I'm saying, well, if somebody happens to cross our path with one of these, let's just call it crazy ideas, then those crazy ideas sometimes do pad out and do develop into something that's interesting, or expand your knowledge. In other words, they actually tie something down firmly.
Kent Wheeler has a big influence. You'll see. And what do you mean frightens me? I'm not scared of anything here. Right. When it comes here, we deal with it. That's all.
Well, now I'm saying we are encouraging it to come here. It's like, okay, people who aren't, you know, feel free if you're a sphere believer also. I mean, anybody who's got an idea on the nature of Earth, be it people who have got an electric universe philosophy, or people who've got a concave philosophy. We had one of them the other day, or at least Phuket Word had a concaver pleading his case to him. He annihilated him with just one or two really direct questions, did Nick, who was epic. I trimmed out a couple of minutes of it. But, you know, there's other people that are out there that have obviously got more about them, confidence or whatever, or, you know, doesn't matter. Whatever it is about them that brings them to our door, we should encourage that. It's like, yeah, and when I pleaded the case for the concaver, it's like, if you listen to the guy, yeah, he's got his dogma about concave Earth, but he also, by virtue of having that completely different to standard rhetoric dogma means that he's open to some of the other deceptions, because fundamentally he doesn't adhere to the mainstream narrative in terms of the nature of the world. So that's a big step forward. Yeah, in the same way as somebody who's got an idea about no trees or projected moons or domes or whatever else people claim, you know, it'd be nice to hear what they've got to say and then say, well, this is how we don't see that as necessarily a good argument, and, you know, pull it apart based on its merits. And that, I think, would progress people, because it would stop some of the people who are trying to expand their knowledge reaching dead ends and just staying there, because they go, oh, I'll just chant this away in somebody's face, and then, you know, eventually they get bored and it doesn't get demolished. Well, we should encourage those people. They're also having an opinion on the nature of our world, right? So why not?
Yes.
Sod the fundy globe believers. They don't want to come. Good. I don't like them very much anyway. They're all chanters.
By the way, did anybody catch Jaren's GNN yesterday?
Yes,
that
I'm sure.
Was hysterical.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a live show. I don't know about hysterical. Very delicate stuff with very passionate people. So, you know, I'll give you that as a vague forewarning. I don't want them being disrespected, any of them.
Did you catch Mitchell's compilation?
No. What did Mitchell do?
Yeah, it was. Well, he did a full show, Mitchell from Australia, and but he clipped out a 5-minute 30-second, I think, part. It's classic. All these guys are circling the wagon around the Sextant that's demolished them, and they're saying, for celestial navigation and the use of a sextant, you're going to need a globe for that. So it's a takeoff on, you're going to need R for that, and it's hilarious.
Cool. I'll check it out. That was yesterday's show, yeah? Thursday's show.
There's 2 parts he put out. He put a 5-minute piece. That's the one, not the 55-minute piece. But yeah, that's also on.
I'll check out the 5-minute piece when I get a chance.
Yeah. I mean, so they got a new saying: if you're going to use the sextant and do celestial navigation, you're going to need a globe for that.
Hey, do you remember when they tried to come out with their own housekeeping questions? That was hysterical.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember, like most of these things, I don't pay attention to our opponents at all anymore. Someone will come on the panel and start telling me about this stuff. And in that instance, they came out and I was like, they've got some globe housekeeping questions. Bearing in mind ours have been repeated at nausea. Like 3 straight years we've been saying the same housekeeping questions. There's a couple have been added along the way, but ultimately it's the same base of questions. They come out with it, and literally, without any prompting, we took them apart on the spot as they were parroted off to us. So one by one, they got read out and instantly pulled apart, and they've never heard of again, of course.
Sucks to be a baller.
They're just lazy. You know, the amount of work, I mean, months of work went into the housekeeping questions in terms of their formulation. You know, in terms of their base, the arguments that are behind them, years of preparation went into them for them to be formulated over a course of a few months into the concise housekeeping questions that have been asked over the course of years without any real change to them. Subtly, they've changed. If you listen to the phraseology, it's had minor alterations here and there, but ultimately they're the same questions. And why? Well, if they were just capable of being ripped apart and debunked and chucked in the bin, they wouldn't be repeated for 3 straight years. You've got to be kidding. You know, they'd just have
Nathan.
one video that listed off how they were all debunked, and that would be the end of it, like we did with theirs.
Correct, and that's what I do when I'm debating with somebody in chat. I'm like, just answer one of the housekeeping questions that we put forth on Flat Earth Debate, and they can't.
Nathan, I got 3 slides for you, Master B, just before the show starts.
Okay.
Oh, you got 3 minutes.
Well, that's not going to give me a load of stress. I've actually got
He doesn't have the same
ready.
equipment, though.
I'm ahead of you.
That's why I gave him 3 minutes.
I'm actually way ahead of you today. Although I'm working on limited screen real estate, I've actually got my you-know-what together. Okay, got your first slide with a picture of a cartoon of a sextant.
Yeah. So it says it's used in the celestial navigation to measure the angle between the horizon and a visible celestial body, stars, planets, or moon. Next one. Set the index arm to 0. Next slide. Observe the horizon with the index arm set to 0. That slogan, you're going to need a globe for that. You might as well can that right now.
Very good. Thank you very much. Short and sweet. No one's going to complain about that except for the show host, who's got a very high workload at this particular moment in time. And would hope that the panel would fill in the dead air as he presses all his buttons. But hope springs eternal.
Yes, so their new jingle on the baller side, if you can do celestial navigation and use...
You're going to need off for that.
Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Neil, Arwin, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello,
Good morning,
hello.
good morning.
Good afternoon.
You're going to need a globe for that.
You are going to need a globe for that, given that nobody knows what you're talking about and they've just joined us live. We were just discussing how the housekeeping questions haven't changed in a significant period of time, and that is because there is no globe rebuttals. Therefore, it's got quieter and quieter and quieter on the show in terms of globe proponents coming forth to defend their fundamentalist, religious, zealot belief that they are standing on a spherical surface. Now, given that there is a lack thereof, we haven't really noticed the fact that there have been stragglers from the flat earth side of the argument who also have some ideas about what the world is and have put those forth to us and had them criticised or validated, verified, evidence presented, all the exact same stuff. As a consequence, I suggested that the name had had a subtle change, where the intonation of the title is with, or formerly with, a question mark after flat earth. Now it's got an exclamation mark after flat earth. In other words, the underlying premise that we all accept here, if there's nobody here to defend the globe anymore, is that we are on a flat earth. We have accepted the obvious and observable nature of our reality. We are on a flat plane. It is obviously, observably, measurably, and navigatably flat. However, there are still some people who, and the joy that comes from this is undoubted to me, want to find out more about some of the things that they previously thought they had a good handle on because they were on a sphere, and it had an explanation on a sphere. Now that they're not on a sphere, they no longer have that explanation and yearn to have some answers fulfilled. Now, we should embrace those people and obviously potentially, if required, point out where they've reached a dead end. Now, there's nothing wrong with reaching dead ends. If you're going to inquire into things, you're going to reach a lot of dead ends. But staying there is the problem. And hopefully, to put a bit of positive spin on it, it won't just necessarily be us pulling apart some fundamentalist religious beliefs on the flat earth side, although I'm sure that will happen also. We might actually find that some people benefit from it because they stop digging in a hole that's getting them nowhere. With that, I'm going to do a bit of housekeeping because typically, and given that the Western world does actually still think we're on a sphere, we will continue with the housekeeping questions just to reiterate the point. So, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Hey, Nathan, this is Tom. I'm the fellow that emailed you last week.
Say again, Tom?
I'm the fellow that emailed you last week, asking to be on the show.
Oh, what a coincidence. Yes, indeed. I should have mentioned you. Tom, very good to have you.
Yeah, so I'm here, to ask about, your beliefs and defend my fundamentalist religious belief in the globe Earth. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, I'm across the pond. I am East Coast time, so we have dipped very much into the workday. I might have to swing back Monday instead. But I just wanted to hop on to ask, do you typically come on 1 p.m. UK time, or does it kind of vary?
It's actually 2 UK time, but there's a pre-show that starts before if you wanted to get here earlier than that. That starts about 20 past the hour.
And remember, we're in the middle of a time zone change, so our time zone is going to change after Sunday. Theirs already changed.
Yeah, I tend not to follow that because my phone just adjusts on its own, so I really never know.
So to be short, on Monday he'll appear an hour earlier. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, that would be ideal. Yeah, because I can typically it's 10:05 a.m. here, so I can typically get away with dipping in from 9 to 10 on a work day, but 10 to 11 is a bit tougher. I'd have some explaining to do.
Let's not waste time. Get on with it.
No, I think he's saying he's going to duck out any minute because 10 to 11, which is his time frame right now, is his busiest time of the day. So he's essentially excusing himself, but making me aware that he has actually joined and giving us a heads up, which is kind of him.
Yeah, that's all I want to do. Let you know I'm here. I intend to come on and chat. So I'll swing back, I guess, 9 a.m. my time on Monday.
Perfect. Feel free to hang around, even if you're just listening in, or do whatever. There's no obligation either way. But pay close attention. I know you're a regular watcher and you're not unfamiliar with the show, so much of what I say may be directed at the audience as though they are you. So don't assume that I don't realise that you have listened to the show.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it, Nathan. Everyone else, have a good one.
Sure. So for the audience's benefit, from my understanding with Tom, he's actually sitting on the fence, but making more of an apology for the globe belief he still holds, as opposed to fighting for that corner in a vehement way that we typically see. That was at least the impression I got from the emails that I've read so far. So I could be wrong about that. And again, maybe that was a white flag being held up, and he was like, I've still got the fundamentalist religious zealot belief, was the way he phrased it. Well, I think that's more of a disclaimer that he's on the path that might be a bit less argumentative, shall we say. We'll see come Monday.
I got excited for nothing.
to chime in, because I didn't dip off. I'm a firm believer still in the heliocentric model. But what I've done over the past year or so is just kind of look into flat Earth. I find it very interesting, and haven't been convinced as of yet, but then knew 2 people in real life who are flat earthers, and one of them was more of a send YouTube video and documentaries type. The other one would engage, more verbally, and said eventually, hey, I'm not really an expert. Why don't you talk to some experts? He gave a few names, and Nathan Oakley was one of them. So I emailed some folks, and Nathan, to your credit, you were like, yeah, just hop on. Anyone can hop on. So what I hope to do is just kind of, talk about our different claims here on Monday. I'm frankly very interested in the epistemology of it all, because it seems like my standards of evidence or burdens of proof or ways of just thinking through things are very different from a lot of people that I've talked to in the flat Earth community. So maybe we could start there, whatever. But I'm so tempted to just stay on because I really like talking about this stuff. It's much more interesting than the thing I do in real life. But I'm really going to have to hop off. So
hey,
have
Tom,
a good day, everybody.
Tom, before you go, it's 10th Man. How you doing?
It's who?
10th Man. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just one question before you come Monday. Do you consider curved as straight and straight as curved, or is there a distinction between the two before you come on Monday?
Curved and straight is the same thing. I'd be tempted to say they're different, except I feel like if I talked to someone who was big into general relativity, they might say something different. I honestly have no idea.
No, that's fine.
No,
that's a sufficient answer. He's trying to excuse himself, 10th. I think that's good enough. Fine, no worries.
No, I appreciate it. Sorry I can't talk longer. Like I said, very tempted to, but don't want to get fired today. Maybe another day. So have a good one, everybody.
It should be fun. I look forward to speaking to you again, Tom. Good to make the acquaintance or make the introduction. Thank you very much.
Well, I thought he was going to leave earlier, but it sounded like he had a little bit more time, so we'll just wait till Monday.
We chewed it out with pleasantries, which is how it should be.
No, okay. He seems like a very decent person.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to telling him about our epistemology. We ultimately adhere to the scientific method and natural laws, things that are empirical in terms of our evidence and our logic when it comes to making our assertions about the obvious and observable nature of reality. Further to that, he's already disclaimed that he's got a model. Well, okay, we all know where this is going to go. He may not know where it's going to go at this stage, but we already know the outcome for the most part.
Well, that's why.
You're going to find out soon enough.
That's why I asked the question: is straight and curved? And if you can distinguish between the two, we should have a wonderful time. But if he can't tell me straight is straight and curved is curved, then he's going to be no different than the ballers.
Yeah, but he also hinted that he may appeal to geodesics during his argument. Again, we already know where this is going to go.
No. You're missing my point. I'm not going that deep into it. I just want to know definition of straight and curved here on Earth when you go buy something.
Sure. Well, already he's disclaimed. To me, they seem like very different things, and he'd be right.
Thank you very much.
Any evidence of Earth curve?
No.
Well, you need R for that, and there's no evidence for R.
In the math.
Yeah, in the math. In the fairy tale.
AKA.
In the lullaby.
It's not even all the math. It's just their math, by the way.
AKA their model.
Not evidence. Math
their
is
model.
not evidence.
When we say in the math, yeah? So already the guy, the chap that was here a moment ago, I've forgotten his name already.
Tom.
No, Tom. Right, indeed. He's already disclaimed, I want to talk about the epistemology and your model. And my model. And where we have disagreements. Okay. Now, you've asked him, is bent straight? And he's gone, they seem like very different things, but then again, general relativity. Okay. So we already know what the argument's going to consist of. Where it falls on its arse. We already know all the aspects that it's going to be covered just in that brief summary. Right? So when we say only in the maths, where's your R value? Where's the Earth curve? You're going to need R for that. Only in the maths is the response from, admittedly, the people on the flat Earth side who are giving an answer to a question that's posed to globe believers. But ultimately speaking, that means only in your model.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. And that answer was quite loaded, as you're saying now, because see, if on Earth you go to Home Depot and say, can I get a straight piece of wood? The guy helping you is saying, well, you mean general relativity straight? In the math, my model's straight or actual straight? No, that doesn't happen.
But then when they come out with a warped board, you know right away, hey, that's not straight.
Oh, no, the clerk told me due to general relativity, this is straight, so it's straight.
Okay, yeah, I don't... tend to want to deal with pseudo-Riemannian 4 space-time bending because we don't live in a fourth-dimensional space-time-based mathematics. You know, that's a reification of a fourth-dimensional mathematics devised in the mind of Einstein. Well, okay, yeah, that's very nice descriptions in maths, but they're not our reality, so who cares? Geodesics and space-time bending to give you straight lines? What's going on?
Geodesics, geodefecation.
Yeah, but see, that's the whole. But that's the whole point, because when I'm talking to people who believe in the model, they're going to jump to that parroting of what they were taught in school. They don't even know what they're saying. But I said, wait a minute, can you show that, or is this just a model? I mean, what is this 4D space-time, and why does it change what straight is?
It doesn't.
And when you know. No, I know it doesn't. That's the whole point. This is the way I break it down with people. I'm just having a little back and forth here. So when this, and I can't wait for Monday, actually, when someone goes immediately to geodesic and 4D space-time, they know a lot more than they're leading on, and they're in the math. They're living in the math. That's why I asked the question, do you have a rock-solid definition of what straight is? And look at the answer we got. Well, yeah, but if you mean in this way, so he's already got in this way, it's different. But then if I'm going to go get a piece of lumber, it better be straight.
Yes, we've immediately transposed the question from is straight the same as bent? Very simplistic question that can be answered in terms of reality. And we're immediately moving into Narnia. Well, in Narnia, things are different, potentially. I might need to appeal to what happens in Narnia.
Exactamente.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Not on Earth, but in Narnia.
No, not even in Narnia. Reference frames are ruined even in Narnia, right? We wouldn't expect to see any Coriolis deviation.
This is why Arwen is ace. Absolutely spot on. Correct. Why do we have anti-flat earther rhetoric where they tell us that our reference frames are ruined? Well, because they've repositioned their claim of globe reference frames onto the flat earther who's debunked them. So there's not even spin in Narnia. There's a justification for why we, the flat earthers, would expect to see the spin the globe claims. That's what they've actually got in Narnia. There's no spin in Narnia. Correct, Darwin? Well put. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Anybody on the Discord panel catch the beginning of Jeranism's show yesterday?
I caught the end.
I caught the end. I caught it from about a third of the way, and I think I just didn't catch what they said about the moon. And I asked the chat, and they were like, yes, they did cover it briefly, but no one filled me in. Did anybody catch the beginning part?
I saw the whole thing up until RV kind of dropped, and then they still had like an after hangout with a lot of people came in. I didn't actually listen to that.
Perfect.
Part.
So you got to hear presumably the challenge be presented or summarised by Jaren or someone, and then the explanation given for Dave Weiss's text to a friend about how I always say the moon, I don't know what the moon is. Did that get covered? If so, can you remember what was said, Darwin?
I must have missed that part. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was gonna be a stream. I just like bumped into it in Skype chat. Somebody posted and it's like, hey, what's this? And then I started watching. So I might have missed like the beginning part where that happened.
Jeez, I thought we just established that before I asked you the question. Okay.
It was a huge show, like 3 hours.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Okay, fine.
Oh, sorry,
I take it all back.
Sorry.
Arwen's not ace. Chocolate teapot.
Yeah.
Well, that leaves me a bit stymied then, because I thought somebody would say, oh yeah, this is how he justified it. I mean, I got to hear the other stuff, which I kind of predicted what he would say, and I was right. In other words, there'll be something in his past that's justifying his use of spirals, or he'll, you know, show how he came to do the research. He was a bloody hypnotist. Didn't know that. But, you know, learn something new about some people you know every day. So, you know, his former career doing exactly that. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable justification for having a spirally logo. You know what I mean? But that's not as interesting as the actual nature of reality context that Dave has actually aligned with us. And it's an interesting one, because I was banging the drum of RV, mainly because he was getting so much crap in the comments. But there we go. You know, you can't help how people feel about these things. It's passionate people we're talking about here.
I do remember a part where David Weiss was trying to explain like how he saw that perhaps the sun, that it had an original point and that would, through the domes or something like that, would reflect into another apparent sun in another region. I did catch that part of his explanation. I thought it was pretty decent.
I see.
But not about the moon.
No, but no, that's fine. That's good enough for me to go from. So he's given his speculation. I mean, I did catch in the latter part of the show him explaining that, you know, he always disclaims that it's speculation, although he didn't. He did the same thing in the show that he did in the text, which is to say, he started off by saying, I always give a disclaimer to say this is speculation. Then he went on to say, I didn't always give a disclaimer, but then I realised that it was necessary and started doing it. In other words, the first statement is technically contradicted by the second statement. That's just how Dave talks. So when he says in a text message, I always say the moon, I don't know what the moon is. You know, I could just imagine him doing exactly the same thing as he did in explanation on the show, which is then go on to say, I used to just speculate about it being a point source in the sky without disclaiming that it's speculation. But like I said yesterday, when you're giving a shorthand text to a mate, you don't expect to have to pepper it with disclaimers. And that's the way I viewed that situation. Just the fact that DITRH actually did the exact same thing, which is make a declarative statement that he specifically always gives the disclaimers, only to go on to say he didn't always give all the disclaimers. So him saying I always give the disclaimers is his way of saying now, currently, present tense, I always give the disclaimers. Again, that's just a linguistics thing. It's just how some people speak. But there we go.
I said it yesterday too. Like, yeah, when you say it, I've always done it, then you're making a claim about past actions. But if you say I always do it, that is more like a colloquialism where you say like I'm always doing it now, right?
No, but
and
this
it
is
can
in
be
text.
confused.
This is the only bit that annoyed me on a personal level, because the other things I find interesting just from a historical perspective in terms of the spirals, but this did annoy me from a personal perspective, because you're like, if you're texting back and forth with someone, you've got a good enough relationship to have their phone number and be texting them. At that stage, you know, you're not pulling any punches with the things that you say to them. Generally speaking, you're well enough acquainted with them that you shouldn't have to expect to sort of watch your P's and Q's and give you disclaimers. You just, by that stage, in my opinion, you don't need to do that. But after the fact, now, I keep using this as an example. Between me and Anthony, when I'm talking about perfect globe proof with the lighthouse, contextually, I've played devil's advocate for the globe position when the argument was put forth and we'd seen the lighthouse flashing away about 32 miles distance, right? And I've said, because you can't see any of the surroundings and this, that and the other, and because they're going to have the Batman Fresnel lens effect claim to be at the distance that you can see the flashing, they'll just claim it's a perfect globe proof. Now that was a 2-3 hour discussion with me, Spurs, my wife, Anthony and his girlfriend, all discussing this with me playing the glober, if you like, putting the other side of the argument across. So when I give him a shorthand, this will be used as perfect globe proof, I expect Anthony to know I'm detailing how I put the position forward as a glober when we're discussing it at the time of taking the imagery, right? But why would I say all that to him in a Skype message? Now that Skype message was seen by a third party. That would be to say that he shared the screen, Anthony that is, someone else saw it and screen capped it, and then went, contextually, I can spin this into Nathan saying there's a perfect globe proof out there, which is precisely what they did. People still comment about it, believe it or not, without giving any context to how it's a perfect globe proof or justifying it or shoving it in my face and saying, there you go, that disproves your flat earth or proves my globe. They just say, here's this semi-contextualized wording from Nathan to Anthony that was screen grabbed. My point in giving all of this background is when it's a third party, you can understand them not knowing the context because it's not given and then just using it to their ends. Whereas in this particular scenario, it's a text message between, I'm going to put this in quotes, two mates. So to have that used against you after the fact, my heart did sink a little bit in terms of what Harvey had done. Because I'm like, this guy trusts you enough to be back and forthing with you, via text message, presumably chatting away with you occasionally on the phone. I can only assume if you've got his phone number. So to then use that against him, I was like, poor show. I can only imagine that you know him well enough to know that contextually that means present tense / future tense as opposed to inclusive of past tense, which it didn't. But there we go. That was my take on the only personally disappointing part of it, when other people pulled apart the anger that Dave showed when he was getting rumpused. Personally, I didn't, see that as RV trying to trigger dearth. It's just passion from people who are, in this case, defending. He's on the back foot, RV I'm talking about, and therefore he's going to try and essentially defend his defence of the argument by rumpusing the things that are devastating and coming back from the person he's been, basically bad-mouthing in this instance, albeit with, I'm sure he'd claim, justifiable evidence. But, that's an awkward position to be in, and therefore you end up sort of trying to stop the opponent getting the information out by talking through them, to the point of Dave's pure anger. And in many ways, I'm like, yeah, what Dave's doing now is the same as I do when I'm 2 hours in to a funded discussion with them, chanting through every second word because they don't want to hear it. Well, Same happened with Dearth. He didn't want to hear it. RV didn't want to hear it, so he chanted through it, and that frustrated Dave. And it is frustrating.
And that really stood out to me, right? Because he also did the funny thing, like, yeah, okay, you can talk, yeah, okay, I'll you go, like he just wouldn't put a lid on it. He was just jittering like a funny, right?
But at that point, he's having to address. He's the accuser, RV that is. He's having to face the accused, who's furious, and that is the only tool that he's got at that stage to lean on. So it is I'm stammering because I'm basically bad-mouthing RV and saying he's using debating tactics. We know what they are. And when you see the word rumpusing go past in Jaren's chat, you're like, where does that word originate? Yes, rumpus is the technical origination of the word rumpusing. But to see that, it means that people have watched the debate and they know that tactic, and it's being employed by RV. So you go, okay, he's rumpusing him. Why? Well, because he's on the back foot. Same reason everybody rumpuses.
I had to step away for a minute, but are we talking about the spiral logo that got the attention? And David said it's this, and someone didn't believe him with the answer he gave. Is this what this is all about?
Yeah, moreover, I'd managed to segue away from my failure to actually pick up on the commenting regarding the luminaries, but we did get some vaguety from the chocolate teapot that is Arwen.
Well, why doesn't someone just believe DITRH when he says it's this, when he did the logo himself and he relates it to something else?
Excellent question, and I'll answer it. Because this is a very paranoid community. So, along the lines of yesterday's discussion with Steve, he's auto-hoaxing. It's all fake. I've been lied to so much, which is true, that some people go past the point of no return and become auto-hoaxers. Everything's a lie. This person in our community died. No, they didn't. That's part of the narrative. That's just there to deceive you. Why? Why would you say that? Because I've been deceived constantly. It's all lies. And you go, yeah, I can relate to that. But no, unfortunately, some things are actually true.
Yeah. Extremes on either side.
Yeah, the bullshit is true.
Always the nicest people that have this shit happen to him. Dave is a fundamentally nice person. He's kind, he's generous, he's gives up a lot of his time, puts a lot of effort and expense out of his own back pocket into various different endeavours that he does for the community, in brackets, of Flat Earth. So you go, on the list of people who are proactively doing stuff that helps this cause, if you want to see it as a cause, I'd probably put him at the top of the list, DITRH. So you go, okay, good people, yeah, of course he's going to get the most crap, isn't he? Isn't that just typical? And then you go, well, why? As 10th man's asking, you go, well, because people are inherently paranoid. Now, I'm not sticking my finger out and pointing my bony fingers at Harvey and going, you paranoid. No, that's not necessarily what I'm doing. I'm just saying that in many ways that's justified, but it's going to leak. It's going to leak into things that aren't justified. And when that happens, sod's law, it happens to the nicest of people.
Right. Well, he probably... no, I'm not going to go there. But I just thought he made a giant mess of it. Like, even with his supposed accusations and David Weiss standing on the ladder and holding a corona. And he, like, backtracked on himself, like saying, no, yeah, okay. Not in that specifically. And then, like, a few minutes later, immediately went full after it right again, after he just disclaimed it. So he was really double speaking at some point. It was terrible.
Because he's used to dealing with lies and liars. So you confront a liar and say, you know, you say you're not a Freemason, but here you are doing very Freemasonic stuff in a pose that's, you know, kind of reminiscent of what I see as a big deception currently. What the hell are you playing at? And then you get a justification for it and you go, yeah, that seems reasonable. You stew on it for a few minutes and go, yeah, that's exactly what a liar would say. And that's where I'm saying this community is, you know, got a lot of paranoia in it. So you're going to think, yeah, people can come up with convincing stories that on the surface level are convincing, but after a bit of consideration, the guy still standing backwards on a ladder, bloody Freemason, is probably what he thought. Now that's the train of thought that has led RV to be who he is. Now you either like that or you don't. If you're a subscriber, you'll like it. Chew the meat and spit out the bones. It's the same with absolutely anybody that you ever watch ever. You know, the people who get so emotionally committed and wrapped up in this stuff. Yeah, you can understand it with Dave. It's him that's being talked about, right? So you can relate in that regard. But for everyone else on the periphery, like, don't make this a bigger deal than it really is. Harvey's doing what he does. And occasionally there's going to be people on his own side that get caught in the crossfire. How they address it and how they deal with it is often more important than the original allegation.
That's true, but look, effectively, it is just thrill-seeking gossip, right? And when you do that to your own, you could consider that, and they really just explain it, that makes you look like an ass. Because, well, who's to say that the other people that he doesn't get to talk to don't have a good explanation for what he accused them of either, you see? And that's kind of like what got him so off guard with all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can like that. It's very exciting to watch it, but it doesn't mean it's true. You see?
I agree, but I'm saying he's presented his evidence, and, you know, when you stack up a whole load of circumstantial evidence, you can build up a picture that isn't necessarily the real picture. Now, some might say that even with a justification, so let's take the most overt, you know, something that could be presented with evidence, i.e. hypnosis being the justification for spirally logoing, right? In other words, if you're adept at that profession, you're going to have a good idea about what sort of logos are used and why they're being used. And then you want to nod to your past in that regard, put it in your logo. All of that is perfectly justifiable, right? And once explained, you kind of go, okay, that does make sense that you would use that. Doesn't necessarily mean you're just trying to plant it in there for Freemasonic reasons. But then you add that to, and you can see how the circumstantial evidence builds. You say, well, this is definitely a Freemasonic thing to do, standing backwards on a ladder. You know, it's not a common thing to do, let's be honest. And Dave Weiss saying, well, there was no chairs. You know, I was standing on something because there was nothing else to stand on. You know, it's a workshop, so there's nothing else around. You know, for most people, they'd go, seems reasonable. For somebody who's in an arena where they're constantly showing the world the lies they've been told, they're going to go, I still see lies here. Okay, there's not a lot you can do about that if you're in Dirth's shoes. You know, you kind of have to throw your hands in the air at some point. When people were accusing me of being connected to the BBC because there's some dude, some reporter with the same surname as me, like, Oakley's not that uncommon. But there was a load of bullshit out there that I was associated with the BBC. So, you know me, I just played on it and said it was true, just to play it up, and made it more and more farcical. But there we go, you know, that's just how some people are. And at some point, for me, I had to throw my hands in the air and go, whatever, believe what you like. You know, if you're so crappy at your research that you can't figure out that guy's not related to me, and you still want to claim it, that makes you a dumbo. But you can't keep telling dumbos that they haven't done very good research. You tell them once, and if they still want to go, well, I just think you're lying. Well, go away and think it somewhere else then, because I don't care about what you think.
So you're not connected to the BBC? That was the whole reason I came to your show.
No, I am connected to the BBC.
No, but not in reality. Okay, so if I ever give the okay sign, and everyone knows what that looks like, they say that's 3 6s. But to me, it's just the okay sign. So if someone ever sees me do that, they're going to make up stuff. Really?
Anybody got an opinion on this from the panel, from the Discord server? No?
I just got in the okay sign.
Cleric, go ahead.
No, sorry, just asking if you were asking about our opinion about the okay sign.
No, the opinion on the infighting.
See, the okay sign already got some traction.
Okay, I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, hey Nathan.
Go
hey,
ahead, Mr. Golly. Go ahead.
So I watched when RV went at Dell from Beyond the Imaginary Curve, and he trolled him like no other. You know, I like RV. I watch his stuff. I watch Dell's stuff. It's just like really you three really that I watch. But I do think that, and I didn't see all of what happened yesterday on Jaren's channel. So if somebody has any like an update on like how it all got resolved, I kind of cut out when Earth got really upset at RV for trolling him and like rumpusing, which RV does on purpose just to like push buttons, I feel like. But when RV feels like he has a shill in his area, he really goes at him, like no holds barred. And I appreciate that passion too. So I'm kind of torn. I would like to know how it all got resolved, if it did.
It's a good summary. I'm the same, because I can empathise with RV and sort of see how, or put myself in his shoes and say, how would he be perceiving this? And like you say, as far as he's concerned, he's like, no, I've got a shill in my midst, so I want to call him out and push his buttons and push him to the limit, because hopefully that'll mean he makes a mistake or contradicts something he said previously because he's angry, or whatever his motivation is for doing what he did. I keep saying it, that's RV, that's what he does, isn't it? That is just him, that's his MO.
Yep, exactly.
All right, I want to start one.
Did it get resolved?
I want to start one.
Go on, 10th. Hold on, Stag, sorry.
There's a lot of stuff about Russians and Russian videos in the news in the last few years. So RV stands for that. Why don't we start that and associate him with something that has nothing to do with his name, but can, if you want it and look for it.
Yes, and I'm sure he's got a justification for his title in the same way DITRH has got a justification for his spirally hypnotic style logo. So, yeah. Sorry, just one sec, though. Let Stag finish his point. Go ahead, Stag. Do you want to round out whatever you were saying?
Oh, no, yeah, I was done. Thanks. I just wanted to just ask what happened at the end of that live stream. 'Cause I can't find it on YouTube now. It's like it's gone.
It's on that Rockwell channel, or whatever it's called.
Did he remove it from YouTube?
Yeah, he said at the end of the show he was going to do that.
Good. There was plenty of stuff on that could have got him in trouble.
Right. I only came because I noticed a clickbait title and I fell for it. I thought RV was going to show his face maybe for a sec, but I'm like, no way. But
he did metaphorically show his face. I take show his face to mean, when Tom gets here on Monday, oh, you showed your face then. Doesn't necessarily mean show your face.
Right.
Yeah, some people think if you show your face, you're telling the truth.
Yeah, we covered this at the end of the last show. The information is what matters. It doesn't matter about the method of delivery. If the method of delivery just so happens to be a narrator, even if that narrator is the originator of the information, it doesn't change the information. However, if you're peddling a fundy belief, then having a really glittery waistcoat and looking really trustworthy is really, really important. Truth doesn't need any crutches, basically, does it? Doesn't need a glittery waistcoat. Doesn't need any magic tricks. Doesn't need anything. It just needs the information disseminated. That's it. Who disseminates it is irrelevant most of the time.
Wait, Stagoli, you said RV was on Dell's live stream?
Oh yeah, man. Maybe about 5 months ago. He was trolling. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was recent. Yeah, I know he was on there. He was trolling them too. I was surprised.
Who was trolling who? You have to be specific about who you're talking about. Who was trolling who?
RV was trolling Dell.
For what purpose?
Honestly, I don't know.
Thought it was a show. Same thing with DITRH. Because of his tattoos and some people in his family. He got on his radar, man. And I guess you know how Dell is. Like he'll give you an FU like real quick. So it got personal.
Yeah, I think he said the same thing about Dell. He said the same thing about Eric Dubay, like he has some connection to like some Thai family back in Thailand or something, to the military over there. So he tried to put two to two together and say that he was like a Freemason or something.
Alrighty then. Well, thanks for the update. Didn't know that. Hey,
yeah, check the video. It's on Jaren's other channel, and it's free. You can watch it. It's called Rockin' or something. Oh, jeez, I put it away again.
Okay.
But yeah, you just check one of Jaren's videos, link description, and just go there and you'll find it on that other channel he uses now.
Thanks, Righteous.
Cool. Hey, Adam. I don't know if we've got to say hello.
Afternoon, guys. All right, Nathan.
Yeah,
I listened to that. I listened for a bit last night. It was. I struggled. I tried to get a grasp of it yesterday, and last night I'm still not sure what's the real beef is. I don't see Dave doing out dishonest. I just see him. Well, not matching up with Bible theology was the only thing I could see that was constantly being held. That because he's not announcing himself as an evangelical Christian or a Bible-believing Christian, I think, more importantly, that seemed to be the biggest issue, that he's not along those lines. Other than that, it seemed a bit handbaggy, didn't it?
Yeah, that seemed to be the main problem. So he tried to pin Dave down on what his God was and who his God was and how important that was. And him not doing that then got focused on for a good chunk of time.
I like Dave's response on that one.
None of your business.
Well, no, there was the flat earth opens you up to the creator. As for that, that's for you to go and have a relationship with him. It's got nothing to do with me. Yeah, well, it was nice.
Very good. Very good.
It was a good answer he gave. But precisely, once you get to realization that you've been lied to in terms of the nature of Earth, then beyond that, it's like, I'm not going to be your guru. I'm not going to tell you what the sky is. I don't know. And why should I know? Why should I tell you? I've highlighted that there's a lie. That's it. That's it. I can lead you to that information. I'm not going to spoon feed you what the world should be perceived as from there on in. Likewise, DITRH saying, I understand implicitly. Same as me. He's got exactly the same standpoint as me in this regard. I know there's a creator. DITRH knows there's a creator. Does he know the creator? Has he got a name badge that he's polished up for him or something? No, he hasn't. And he's not going to claim that he does have that or he can give you that. Now, contrasting that, you've got RV who says he does know and you should align with him. You're like, I don't know, that doesn't necessarily go over well either. At all, actually, but trying to be kind to RV. Yeah, there was good and bad. Very, very passionate people, eh? So, the chat was quite harsh to them. And it's like, got to respect the fact that they're even discussing this. I think you said in the chat as well, Adam, it's like, where do we see this from the Globe side? The fact that they're even here discussing it with it at a high passion level and sharing it with you, just thank them. That said, I will actually shout Jaren out. Thank you very much for tolerating my nonsense in the chat and sharing that with us. Because I felt privileged to be, seeing that sort of stuff happen. And I know Jaren sort of gave a few disclaimers to say, look, I know this has been a bit of a shit show today. I'm like, oh, well, actually, no, this is not a shit show. Yes, there's moments where there's people running at high passion levels and talking through each other and trying to trigger each other and all the rest of it. But all of that is very telling. And all of that was very useful for an audience to see. And in some ways, it might get people who carte blanche took a lot of what was said as good evidence from RV about things that we would align with him on, as not necessarily being as strong as you might have first thought when you see it presented against somebody who can actually sit there and go, no.
No, not to change the subject, but maybe. Did you finish the housekeeping questions?
Not at all.
Okay.
Is that your subtle way of saying move on from the RV?
Well, it's just quiet now. So let's just move on if no one else has got anything to add.
I don't mind to do the rest of the housekeeping questions. Any scientific evidence for gravity?
The scientific, gone through the scientific method type of evidence? No. You're going to need R for it anyway. Center of one mass to center of another mass with this fictitious force.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, just observe and declare, it seems like, because that's all they do.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Definitely not. You're going to need R for that. The black swan would be set aside as folklore because everyone would see curvature, which then would lead you to say what's in the middle. And then there might be an iron molten core, but you don't even have curvature. You don't have a sphere. So what's the use?
Any evidence of the R value? That would be Earth radius.
It all rests on that. No evidence for the R value.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container's press on? Go on, Adam. Did you want to add something to?
I was just going to say for the previous question, you're going to have to reify the horizon for that.
Yeah, that's true. We only have one horizon, and the horizon in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculator was, prior to the black swan, geometric and capable of giving you a derived measurement for R. Now that it's refracted, you haven't got a geometric horizon, therefore you haven't got an R value, you haven't got any way of acquiring one. Gas pressure without a container? Anybody? Feel free from Discord.
Impossible.
Sure. Well, it's stated that's what Earth is, next to a vacuum of space, but impossible in any demonstration. And we'd all be dead, because the air would be filling the volume.
I see why you were put on server mute now, Fleric. Fleric, can you hear us? Fleric? Move him into a different room.
Oh my god, I'm not me. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. No worries. I think that concludes housekeeping anyway.
Yeah, all right.
But there we go, we got through him in the end. First time this week.
Well, that's good. Never know who's listening.
That's true.
How long has these questions been gone unanswered now, Nathan?
About 3 years. Probably more. I'll have to look it up for the exact date. But the song that was made several months after the first housekeeping questions were aired is over 3 years old. So, yeah. Be Here and Love was kind enough. Zoe was kind enough to make me a song that she just rattled off on a guitar and into a mic singing it. That's become my channel ad. And it's stayed the same for 3 years.
Yeah, you figure if they could answer just a handful of those, just one maybe.
Well, considering they've still piled in for the most part, I mean, we get the odd drip and drab here, there, and everywhere from people who potentially want 100 grand to come in and debate the Earth's a sphere. I'm not even kidding, ladies and gentlemen listening to this right now. That is the level that we're at now. But that's to be expected after 3 years of undefeatable questioning of the heliocentric model on a daily basis. You know, eventually, you know, you're going to beat down your opponents if they can't overcome those questions. But you still get the odd person that's like, I want 100 grand in Bitcoin. yeah, I'll go and put my globe proof, not realising that it's all been annihilated many years ago. Or the dude that's like, well, where do I go to find this out if you're just going to send me links? And then they send them here. Okay. Hope the guys watched a few of the shows.
What's interesting, just in comparison, Neil deGrasse Tyson won't debate any flat earther because he's afraid of how the debate might go based on sound of voice, looks of the debater, zest appeal, charisma, but doesn't have enough solid arguments to defeat someone who's good looking and has charisma. So Neil deGrasse Tyson pretty much said that I have all the arguments and they're rock solid, but when I go against a good looking guy with a tongue that's like smooth, my arguments all fall apart. So I'm not going to do that. And yet here, 5 days a week, Nathan is saying, hey, come on, destroy our position. Here's the housekeeping questions. It doesn't matter. Everyone's welcome. He's not afraid of smooth-talking people. But why is Neil deGrasse Tyson afraid of the potential smooth-talking person with a good argument?
That was pure projection. He's the smooth talker without an argument, so he's going to claim that his opponents are smooth talkers without an argument that might somehow undermine the empirical truth he hasn't got, when all he's got is his shiny waistcoat and his charisma.
So when he does the mic drop on gravity, it's so laughable because all he has to do is come here and learn about density.
Yeah. That's the greatest example of his projection, isn't it? It's all charisma and no content, that mic drop.
Precisely, Adam.
10th Man just took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say that. I was going to be like, he's probably going to, one of his proofs for gravity is just probably going to drop a microphone. So here you go.
Yeah, and if he was stood in front of us, I'd say, all right, and if I hand you a helium balloon, will it do the same thing? Or if we were standing outside, I'd look up at the clouds, and I'd go, are they doing that, those clouds? They don't seem to be going down. What gives? Where's he going to go with that? Oh, well, the gas around the clouds is going down, go boom, boom. Is that where he'd go? He'd be humiliated within a matter of seconds. That's the real reason why someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson will never go anywhere near a debate with someone like me. Because I'd humiliate him within seconds. I'd have him declaring that gas go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls, like Thunderfoot did, within a matter of seconds.
In 2017, Neil deGrasse Tyson was on this little show called Hot Ones. He was eating hot wings. But a dude asked him, what can you give me, like, to just demolish, like, if a flat earther comes up to me? And so Neil deGrasse Tyson said, well, I did this and blah, blah, blah. And then he said, what we really need to do, I don't want to do that. What we really need to do is have this education system, make it so that they don't even come out thinking that way. That's what he said. He doesn't want anybody to think like that. He wants everybody to understand it's a globe.
So, same question posed to us. So someone comes up to me and says, how do I demolish these idiots that say we're on a spherical surface? And I go, the Earth is obviously, observably, measurably and navigatably flat, and the horizon is an Earth curve. Full stop.
It's a bit different. isn't it? Because this is a fellow ball believer, right, with all of the whole body of science behind him, saying to Neil, how do I deal with these people when they say it's flat? I, living here in a ball world, don't actually have an answer. He's having to ask his guru how to deal with that, which says to me that there isn't something actually obvious. It is something that when we cross that question, it stumps us because we can't prove it. We can just say gravity, which is what Neil does, dropping his mic. But I think that's quite telling that that's like, how do I deal with this? It's bloody obvious, shouldn't it?
Yeah. But based on what that guy said, I think I remember that segment. Neil is saying we should control free speech, and that question is not allowed.
Yeah, he's saying deal with it at the indoctrination of the children's stage of their life, and then you won't ever have to deal with it as a question later in life. As opposed to, it's obviously a sphere, you've got a sphere obstruction between you and things in the distance. That sphere obstruction's always there and is at 1.2 times the square root of your height. And is always going to block things because it's a sphere edge, proving we're on a sphere. Allah, here's this mathematics called Earth Curve Calculator that for many years was held up in debate as the proof of having a spherical surface. Now, why wouldn't Neil deGrasse Tyson just say, go to any Earth curve calculator, you can see the Earth curve at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet? I'll tell you why. Because the horizon is an Earth curve. When he talks about the horizon, he needs to get you to reify the horizon into the same view an ant gets on a beach ball that's shaped like a globe map. Because the horizon on a beach ball is a physical edge that blocks the view for the ant, and it doesn't bend if you're 2 millimeters above it as an ant. But that's a physical geometric sphere edge on a ball, i.e. an inflatable ball he's slapping when he's using his charisma, because he hasn't got any actual sphere proof. That would be an actual horizon that's Earth curve. We've debunked that. So should Neil deGrasse Tyson slap his beach ball in front of me, I'd say, number one, Mr. Tyson, we don't live on a beach ball. Number two, your claim of a sphere Earth is a model. That would be a reification fallacy to claim that I'm like the ant on your model. I'm not. Furthermore, the horizon is an apparent location. It's not a physical geometric limitation to our view like your ant would have on that beach ball. It has a physical limitation to its view, a geometric horizon, because it's a beach ball getting in the way at the leading edge that you can see if you're an ant. Our horizon on Earth definitely isn't a physical geometric sphere edge. We've debunked that with the black swan. It's beyond the limitations of a sphere Earth radius 3959 as you reify in your model, Mr. Tyson.
Yeah, he blames the education system not doing their job.
He should blame his reification of a model, because that's the problem. You can't prove it because it's not true.
He starts with a statement of fact. That stuff is flat. And then, as you say, he goes on to get the listener to reify things. So he makes the statement it's flat. Then he shows you a beach ball, talks about ants, and gets you to imagine why you can't see the curve that he's now got you to reify. It's a very clever trick. You're doing all the work for him.
It's his best magic trick, that one. Because in both instances, you've got flat earthers saying, look, he's saying it's flat as he slaps the beach ball. But he actually says, you can't see the curve of the earth from slap, slap, slap 2 millimeters above this beach ball. That's what he actually says. Well, no, you can't see the curve of the beach ball left to right on that axis if you're an ant 2 millimeters above it, Mr. Tyson. Fascinating if we were an ant standing on a beach ball. But what you require me to now reify that geometric horizon that the ant's got, because it has actually got a curved surface in front of it blocking its view of things beyond it, into my horizon I see in my everyday life, when you tell me this stuff is flat. And because an ant can't see a geometric horizon from 2 millimeters above a beach ball, I reified into that ant, can't see my geometric horizon that we don't have, and you're gonna, what, make me assume that the horizon's your Earth curve edge? Why would you do that with such an elaborate magic trick? Well, it's to get flat earthers to also reify the horizon into an edge. When they say, see, he says, the edge of the Earth that curves can't be seen from this altitude, says the flat earther, ultimately falling for the magic trick and not recognising that they're still reifying the Earth curve edge into the horizon. When flat earthers say, we see too far, what, too far beyond what? The horizon that's not an Earth curve edge, that you're still reifying into a physical geometric position that we can now see beyond, therefore too far. No, you've also fallen for the magic trick and not noticed that you're now reifying a horizon that you see in your everyday life into a geometric sphere edge, known as Earth curve. Clever trick, best trick Tyson's done, in my opinion.
And where does he get off saying 99% of the Western world believes in heliocentrism, that the education system has failed? You got 99.9% of people who are told don't ask questions when the very thing as a child, and I got 7 grandchildren, and 3 of them are just starting to ask questions, but the others have, and they're so curious. So you put the kids in a schooling system, they come out heliocentrists because you can't ask questions, which is the prerogative of a child to say, why this, how come this, how come that? And he's complaining that he doesn't have 100% brainwash, but he's got 99.9, and he says it's failed.
That's exactly it. It has failed, hasn't it? Because it's the point of the system is for us to comprehend. If we don't just comprehend and repeat, it's failed. If we question the narrative, the education system has failed. That sums up what he views the education system is for. It's to produce drones, not critical thinkers.
Precisely, I couldn't have summed it up better myself, Adam. They want you to listen, comprehend and repeat. That is what a comprehensive education is for. If you produce worker bees that think they're philosophers, then you've got a very big problem with your comprehensive education system, because they shouldn't be leaving that system without the comprehension that we're on a sphere. They're supposed to have comprehended that we're on it, so if they're questioning it, that's a big problem. We need to address the comprehension of these kids, because they're not comprehending it. Yeah, exactly, Adam. But with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Wasn't even my thought. I was actually saying you haven't lost it. You can just go listen to it, and you twisted it.
Oh, no, I'm being serious. It's probably a lot peaceful without me. That's just a state of fact.
Yeah, but how'd you change the subject to that when I was caring that you would not lose the show? You could hear it. Now you changed it and it's all about you.
Because it's always all about me. Why would I want to hear a show if I don't have any?
I love you, Neil. That's great.
How's the toddler doing?
How's what?
How's the toddler?
Well, the toddler, well, I got, What do you mean the toddler? Have I talked about the toddler?
I'm just throwing it out there. If it don't apply, let it fly. If it does, feel free.
Yeah, I'm trying to say when I talk about toddler. No, I got wonderful grandkids, and the youngest one rides on the sit-down mower with me, and sometimes the tractor the neighbor lets me borrow, and they moved, and he watches the video that we took of that every morning. Papa, Papa, and the place they're at has a sit-down mower, so he wanted me to see him on the sit-down mower there. So yeah, I'm having a great time being a grandparent.
Yeah, I'm a grandparent as well, but my oldest daughter is having a baby sometime in November. They have to induce it because she had some problems with high blood pressure. So I think she's got to pick a day in November.
What number will that be for you then?
Oh, my oldest son is born on the 27th, but I don't think they could hold her that long.
No, how many grandkids do you have in total?
Oh, how many will that be? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. This will be 4.
Awesome.
No, it's not awesome. I'm on the countdown here. Birthdays, man. It's like I'm counting down. I'm like, let me see. If you give me another 30
I'm saying
years,
as a whole. As a whole, I'm saying awesome. Just the whole thing, not the.
Oh yeah, that part. Yes, it's awesome, but the other part is not. Although I desire to be with the Lord, you know, God built us with this self-preservation thing. Stay alive.
Yeah, of course, of course.
No, and I'm over there, Lord. You know, I could. Let me see. 21 years just went by. I could, if I can get another 21 of them, I'll make a deal with you. But that'll only make me 77. And with my luck, God will be like, I had you scheduled for 90, but you agreed to 77.
The way your mind twirls, I love it.
How very morbid.
You know what's interesting? My first grandson, Liam, who's a heliocentric kid who said my teacher told me about this when it came to flat Earth. He used to cry every time we sang happy birthday to him. And then after 4 years, I realized this kid is really smart. He realizes it's a countdown.
Hey, Alan, did you watch Mitchell's latest video?
Yeah. Need to crack on with this next presentation, really, for them, don't we?
Yeah.
Was it a lot of 10th man slides then?
Oh, yeah, the full show, the one, not the 5-minute one, but the 55-minute one. He had what I did on your show, Nathan. So he aired that. I saw it late last night, but I sent him some texts congratulating him on keeping the topic relevant, and the comments underneath the videos are quite excellent, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell knows a good argument when he sees one. So you'll typically see him jump on various different argument bandwagons, but only the good ones. I can't think of any that he's hung his sail to, or whatever the phrase is, that were rubbish arguments. You know, he just knows a good argument when he sees one.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do something here. Let me see. I think I gotta get the screen share. Can I screen share or try the screen share?
Yeah.
Let me see. I gotta get rid of this one. Leave that one up. Go to the screen. It says more options. Let's do this. So I see an arrow, but it says Nathan Oakley 1980s presenting. If I click on that, it allows me to share mine. Is that right?
I think so.
All right. Yeah, there we go. Share now. Do you see it?
No. Adam
Hang
knows
on.
how to do it from your end. Adam often shares. Should just be a simple case of
Share your screen, Edge.
Click the middle button on the bottom where it says Nathan Oakley is presenting.
No, I did, and it takes me to a little box that says share your entire screen. Edge wants to share the contents of your screen to me in Google.
How many screens have you got? 10. Just one.
Well, just one plus the
fine.
Skype screen.
So click, instead of presenting your entire screen, just present a window. Click on a window.
Oh, there we go.
Say
There we
share
go.
now, and then select the window.
Okay.
Oh no, what have you done? I'm only joking.
Broke it.
No, I'm only joking. It's good. It's good.
So what do you...
Share your screen.
Share my screen.
And then click on the tab that says hide. Don't click on the blue one. Ignore, yeah. That's it. And then,
Okay. So there we go.
And then click on where it says hide, just to get rid of that horrible. At the bottom.
Okay, you see this?
Yeah, just get rid of where it says hide at the bottom.
Oh, got it. That just
That's
popped
it.
up.
Yeah, now you're set.
All right, I'm going to go full screen. You see full screen, or did this screw it up?
Looks perfect. It's fine.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is a step-by-step guide. How to use the Sextant. When you first get hold of a Sextant, it can seem like a daunting prospect to learn how to use it. I experienced the same feelings when I first started using mine. In time, I have learned that actually the Sextant is not really all that difficult. In fact, the whole process can be broken down into 6 easy-to-follow steps. So, pro tip, this article assumes basic knowledge of the Sextant as an instrument. If you are not familiar with the Sextant, I recommend first reading What is a Sextant? Explained by a ship's officer. Seen that? Step 1, plan the time and location of your sites. The first step with using a Sextant is to make a plan. If you're intending to measure altitude of stars, you need a plan to time that you will take your sites as well as the approximate location of each star. For star sites, the best time is to take your sites 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after sunrise. Once you know the time, you will take your sites. You should then work out the approximate location of each star relative to your position. See, the stars relative to my position. It will still be too light to see entire constellations, so you should just work out rough direction and approximate altitude of your planned stars. As you will plan the brightest stars, those will be the first to appear in the sky anyway. Pro tip, a sextant can be used during the day to measure the altitude of the sun and the moon, or take vertical and horizontal sextant angles. We go into detail about the best time for sites in this article because I've already covered it in another post if you want to find out more. Step 2, pick up and hold your sextant correctly. To correctly pick up your sextant, reach into the box with your left hand and take a hold of the frame. As you lift it out, use your right hand to grasp the handle. Notice they don't want you touching the eyepiece or the mirrors, so you don't miscalibrate what you've already calibrated. How to hold the sextant correctly. To correctly hold a sextant, you need to handle in your right hand the arc of the instrument at the bottom. The eyepiece of the telescope needs to point in your direction so that you can bring it up to your eye and look through the telescope. Your left hand is then free to adjust shades and operate arm. I'll get rid of this box down here. All right. Step 3. Correct your sextant for index error, side error, and perpendicularity error. Now that you have a hold of your sextant, you need to correct it so that you are ready to take a site. I'll just provide a summary in the post, so you check out my post, Sextant Errors and Corrections, if you need full detail. Now, this is a very important part here. First, check for perpendicularity error by setting the index arm to around 30 degrees and checking the continuity along the arc. If there is an error, adjust the screw on the index arm. Second, check for side error by setting the index arm at 0 degrees, tilting the sextant to one side and looking at the horizon. If there's a step in the horizon, side error is present, and you need to adjust the side error screw to remove it. Third, check for removable index error by bringing the sextant upright, continuing to look at the horizon. If there's a step in the horizon, adjust the index screw and remove it. Repeat the removal of side error, removal of index error until you have removed as much as you can. It's not showing the pictures, but on the side it does. I don't know why it didn't bring up the pictures. I don't want to go and refresh it just in case I lose something here. Finally, note down the residual index error by using the micrometer. You will need it so that you can remove it mathematically later on. Step 4, locate the body you are measuring using the telescope with your sextant properly corrected. You need to set to 0. You hear that? You need to set to 0 and bring it up to your eye to use as a telescope. Setting it to 0 means that there will be no separation between the images on each side of the horizon mirror. Using the telescope, you simply need to locate the celestial body that you are intending to measure. Once you find it, give yourself a few seconds to steady everything before moving to step 5. Pro tip: if you're measuring the sun, make sure you use correct shades to protect your eyes. Step 5, bring the celestial body in line with the horizon. I wonder why. The trickiest part when you're using the sextant is to bring celestial body down to line up with the horizon. First, focus your eyes on the celestial body, adjust the micrometer to move it up or down a little bit, the finer adjustments, that is. You want to get used to seeing its movement. Next, try angling the sextant up and down a little bit to keep the celestial body in line with the center of the mirror as you adjust the micrometer. When you are happily moving the celestial body with the micrometer, try same movements using the clamp on the index arm instead. Grip the clamp with your left hand, adjust the angle of the sextant in your right hand. You need to keep the celestial body in the center of the mirror. Finally, bring the sextant down until it's perfectly level and you can see the horizon as well as the celestial body. If the clamp does not allow the body to stop precisely on the horizon, adjust the micrometer slightly until the horizon and the celestial body are perfectly lined up. How to use a sextant on land. To use a sextant on land, you either need an artificial horizon or a bubble sextant. At sea, we can use the horizon, but on land, we need to simulate the horizon instead. The bubble sextant works on the same principle as a spirit level. This idea is that you complete the same procedure that we outlined above, but instead of lining the celestial body up with the horizon, you use the bubble on your sextant to get it perfectly level instead. I don't know if I read that slow enough. An artificial horizon consists of a reflective liquid that acts like a mirror, sitting perfectly flat. Acts like a mirror sitting perfectly flat relative to the Earth's surface. You use your sextant to measure the angle between the true celestial body and its reflection, dividing the result by 2, giving its altitude. The most common artificial horizon I have seen is a Davis instrument artificial horizon. Step 6, read the altitude of the body from the arc. The final step in your using the sextant is to read the altitude that you have measured using the arc and the micrometer drum. This one we have a picture. The magic of the sextant is that you are literally just reading the angle between the horizon mirror and the index mirror. That is worth repeating. The magic of the sextant is that you're literally just reading the angle between the horizon mirror and the index mirror. In actual fact, the angle between the mirrors is actually half the angle that you're reading because the sextant works using the principle of double reflection. This is why sextant only covers 1/6 of a circle, yet it can measure angles up to 120 degrees. The entire principle is too complicated to cover in the sextants, so check out how sextants work on the illustrated guide. Step 7, optional. Use your readings to calculate your position. Once you have obtained the reading using your sextant, you can use it to calculate a line of position. And what is this thing? Your position. When you use the altitude of the star or sun, it's to calculate your position to the GP of that star or sun. It's triangulation it's talking about here. Each side can give you a single line of position. So taking 3 or more simultaneous sides can give you a complete celestial fix. Mathematics can be complex, but I've covered it in this video if you would like to see me walk you through it. Tips for using a sextant. My biggest tip is getting better with a sextant is to practice as often as you can. It's impossible to learn how to use a sextant without practicing with it. Through practice, you will become intimately familiar with your own instrument and find it much quicker to complete corrections, bring stars down to the horizon, and take readings. In addition to practicing, I have compiled a list of my top 7 tips for using a sextant in this link. Alternatives to using a sextant. There is no true alternative to using a sextant, but there are different instruments and technologies that you can use to achieve similar result. A digital sextant can remove a lot of manual work, making celestial position fixing much easier. They're very expensive, by the way. Otherwise, you need to rely on satellite-based position fixing through technology like GPS or terrestrial-based position fixing through technology like eLORAN. When all your electronics fail, though, there is no better alternative than a celestial fix using a sextant. That was brief. I wish the pictures were there. Maybe, here they come. It took a while to do it, but they're not all coming at the same time. Any questions?
Anybody want to add anything to that? Thank you, 10th.
You're welcome.
Oh, that was a nice summary explaining what it does and why it does it. I thought towards the end there, 10th, you could scroll down just as it described the bubble and artificial horizon. I want to go into the I don't want to go into the detail of those things, but just the statements. So state a same principle as a spirit level. And it's saying here, look, outlined above, but instead of lining the celestial body up with the horizon, you use the bubble on your sextant to get it perfectly level, underlining perfectly level in that sense. And so on the artificial horizon one, you use the sextant to measure the angle between the true celestial body and its reflection. Sorry, it's the bit before. Consists of a reflective liquid that acts like a mirror, sitting perfectly flat relative to the Earth's surface. How do you sit flat relative to a curved surface? You can't. So that, to me, is what's interesting in that artificial horizon statement. It's making the statement that the artificial horizon is sitting level to a flat surface. That's its principle of how it's working.
Anybody in Discord? Anybody want to add anything to this? Earth is flat. Yes, that's very much the case.
What's missing from this, Adam? What's missing from what they say that we don't know how a sextant works, we don't own one, we haven't touched one, which is running away from the strength of the argument that we were posing. But what's missing from all of this that they say is actually in their mind happening?
It was a gaslighting attempt from the start, right? You leave very, very little maneuvering room for interpretation here. So they literally have nothing. It's like a solid piece of rock. You're not going to split it apart, right?
Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome, Dave.
Sure, she's fine. She's no problems.
So what's missing? It's glaring, actually.
The pictures, they're missing.
Yeah, that's right. Pictures are missing.
I mean, what the thing that's noticeable? There's no talk of 69 degrees per mile. There's no talk of curved surface either. It's
yeah, that's true. But where is their measurement coming from?
Center of a presupposed spherical Earth.
Yeah. Bottom of the ocean, baby.
Now we see the problem. When you're using the sextant, following the instructions, it never says that.
You can't do that. You can't position your sextant at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. You can just line it up with a flat baseline that you've acquired from the horizon, or in this case, an artificial horizon, which halves your, I don't know if you call it the efficiency, the scope of range in the tool is halved when you're dealing with a reflection. Other than that limitation, what are you dealing with? You're dealing with flat baselines and straight lines to get angles. So how are they going to deal with it? Well, you can't deal with it when you're measuring angles. That's the problem. So they can't suddenly insert an assumption of infinitely distant stars and the sextant being at the centre of Earth, because it isn't. That's not what you're doing. Literally, that isn't what you're doing when you hold the sextant.
So that's not. Can I say something? So that's not what the dip correction is for? To gap the distance between you and the center of the Earth?
There isn't one. There isn't one in this scenario. So when you're using an artificial horizon, you're measuring the difference between the reflected angle and the angle of the star itself. So essentially you've got two positions. One is a reflection, giving you two things to line the horizon mirror up with, but it essentially negates the requirement to do a dip angle correction. You don't need one anymore. You've established a flat baseline with the reflection because the reflection is flat.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I was just saying, like, for the ballers, like, I could misinterpret very blatantly on purpose that the dip correction entirely is not to basically be down to ocean level, but actually to the center of the Earth, right? Kind of in a above the side sky maneuver?
No, because it's a horizon dip correction. So they have in the past tried to twist that, but once you do, you're no longer gaining an angle with the tool anymore. So it's explained in Muppet Vision side on, with the sextant essentially deriving an angle from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. But when you look at the instructions for the tool's actual use, it doesn't describe it that way because it isn't being done that way.
Right. I never said that the baller interpretation would have to make sense, though. You know,
the baller interpretation is to create a tangent on the top of the ball to then drag that angle to the center of the ball, which is not what the sextant's doing. I think on one of the things it states it 10th. It's stating your position on the surface. That's what it's defining.
That's right.
There's no mention of dragging angles to the center of presupposed balls to then extrapolate angles out as circumferential distances. It's not doing that.
No.
What's the purpose? What's the purpose of calibrating the sextant so that I can line up with the horizon at exactly at 0?
With the dip correction, you mean?
The actual tool itself has to be calibrated on the index arm because the reading of the degrees has to be at 0 when you aim at the horizon.
Oh,
so
because if it isn't calibrated, you're not acquiring an accurate angle with your two straight lines that the tool requires to function.
Yes. Indeed. So
Yeah,
all of the calibration is intended for this tool so it can give you a right angle from the GP of the star 3,000 miles away to you, so that you can do a couple of these sightings, get a couple of circle of equal altitudes so that where they cross, you find your fix. As Adam said, it said here, is to find out where you are. Because you know where the stars are by the books when you sight them, because they've just laid a man-made grid system on it, called it the equator, longitude, latitude lines over a flat plane, and they know exactly where the stars are over each of those areas. So if you shoot it with a sextant, it has to be over a flat plane, so it has to be calibrated in order for the triangulation. That bottom baseline's got to be 0, just like the horizon is 0. And then you're able to say, okay, I think I'm over here, but my shooting of the star puts me 5 nautical miles over here, so I'll make the correction, and I'll get my line of position.
Anybody else? Any comments on it? Once again, thank you, 10th.
You're welcome.
Just to go with what Owen was saying, that is where they'll go, Owen. It's where they want to go, but it's where they can't go. Also, because they want to claim it, but they can't demonstrate it, because if they try and demonstrate it, it will prove that it doesn't do that. So,
where's there? Where do they want to go? Do you mean to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, sorry. To pretend that the dip horizon is to adjust for the leading edge of a ball, and therefore the altitude adjustment is in some relation to 1.2 times the square root of the observer height. They're pretending that you're adjusting that angle because the horizon is perverted based on your height, based on it being curving away from you. It's not. The reason we're using the dip angle is to bring the observer's eye down to the level of the sea, so that we have not only a straight line, which we had, but a straight line with a right angle to the GP. And that's the purpose of the dip angle. Mathematically, it demonstrates it. And they may want to claim something to do with a reification of a horizon being the leading edge of a ball, but it isn't, and it doesn't do that.
Perfect.
Well, the current chant is if you want to do celestial navigation with a sextant, you're going to need a globe for that. We just proved that you're going to need a flat baseline to the horizon for that.
Yeah, circle of equal altitude, that would be 2-dimensional, and the 90-degree is only capable of acquisition if it's straight, and you've done that dip correction if you're using the horizon to give you pure geometry of a straight flat line. So no, you're not going to need a ball for that. You're going to need to account for how your angle's acquired from a tool that is only dealing with straight lines. Moving the position where you actually make the measurement from to the centre of your presupposition isn't going to cut it. Any more for any more?
Yeah, can I say something? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, from what I'm gathering and what I was told, they put it in like if it was me. They said you could read all the flooring books you want, Neil, but until you get in the floor, you did not know how to do it until you got down and you've done it, correct? Yes, I've got my experience on my knees doing it. So what they're trying to say is they're hand waving everything Tent has done until he uses the sextant and stops reading about it. This is how they're treating it, just to let you know.
Sure. Well, every one of the depictions and diagrams and presentations has been done with a ball-believing fundamentalist religious standpoint taken by the author. So all of the things that 10th Man's referencing are the descriptions of how you'd go out and do it. So that's how you go out and do it. Them saying, well, no, every description that's being given about how you go out and do it isn't right because he hasn't begged the question of a presupposed spherical Earth that hasn't been described when describing how you do it. That's not going to wash it. That's going to not. That's fail. That's total fail, Neil.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. How's he supposed to go? Tell me when he goes to the center of the Earth.
Exactly. How's he going to get his angle measurement? How's he going to get 2 straight lines if he's on a spherical surface and he's apparently holding this at the centre of a presupposed ball 3959 in radius? He's not doing that, and that's not what the directions for using the tool say you should do. It's just your fundamentalist religious sphere belief is debunked when you understand implicitly that there's a straight flat line between you and the GP of a star you're triangulating with, and the triangulation itself requires a 90-degree angle to meet that GP with a straight line between you and it. And there's a circle, that's 2-dimensional, area of equal altitude in all directions from your position when you get 90 degrees to all 3 stars that you've triangulated with. That means that to work, it must be a flat plane. There's no other explanation, and there's no other description in terms of the utilisation of the tool to acquire 2 straight lines. You've got to have 2 straight lines, not a curved surface.
As you can see here, highlighted, angle between the horizon mirror and the index mirror. And Bob the Fallacy guy came on. He says he didn't need a horizon. He didn't need straight lines. He didn't, whatever, right? I mean, he had it right behind his head on that grease board. He drew it, and he still wouldn't answer your questions. But here it is, angle between the horizon mirror, which is aimed at the horizon, obviously, and the index mirror. Well, what's the index mirror? That's the one that moves. And that's the one where you bring the luminary, the star, sun, planet, down to the horizon. And you're reading the angle between two objects, the horizon being your baseline, what you can show vertical from, because you need the perpendicular to happen in the sextant, the right angle to happen. It's so clear. And yet they want to say, well, yeah, we know all that, but basically what we're doing on the surface is mirroring the globe at the center. I said, well, great. Are you assuming a globe, or are we on a globe? No, we're on a globe. Okay, good. Where's R? Because your R should be much explicit in the way it shows itself, and the black swan shows you ain't got an R.
Exactly. That's what virus fell victim to. The moment they do it, they're just going to hear the words black swan with every ounce of venom I can muster, because it's been 22 months. With that, though, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the PayPal link, hopefully helping me out with my broken projector and the horrendous bills that will follow. So massive thanks to all of you who have smashed the PayPal link. Could do with a few more quid just to cover that bill, so please smash that PayPal link in the info box. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!